And it's Ken Kraetzer for CAM. That's media. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military and veterans proudly since 2008. And it is Navy Week. Army-Navy game on Saturday at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, 124th meeting. And it will be quite a game. It's a 3 o'clock start. You can watch it on the CBS television network, the big CBS as we call it. At 12 noon, you can watch the march on of the Corps Cadets and the Brigade of Midshipmen. Lots of events in Boston on the day before. Now, let me welcome our team here today. We have from South Jersey, we've got Steve Chalout from the class of 92.
Can I get a beat Navy?
Okay.
Beat Navy.
And from Florida, we've got Richard Miller. How are you?
I'm awesome, Ken. Beat Navy. This is the biggest game of the season.
It sure is. And from Pelham, my WVOX colleague, Jack McGurk. How are you?
Doing great. Excited for the big game this weekend.
Yeah, and from hopefully joining us in a moment from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama, we will have Colonel Sam Houston from the class of 87. Now, I just want to mention, thank our sponsor this year, the New York Yankees, 27-time world champion. Lots of things getting planned out for their upcoming season. And we always want to remember our friends at the Special Operations Warrior Foundation doing a great job taking care of the children, mentoring and college scholarships for children of fallen members of the Special Operations military community. And there's Colonel Sam Houston with his resplendent Goat Busters t-shirt. Sam, you got to explain that to the audience.
So every year, the Corps of Cadets is issued what they call the 12th man shirt for the Army-Navy game, and it's different every year. And this was the 12th man shirt for the Corps that we wore at the 1984 Army-Navy game in Philadelphia, where Army emerged victorious, led by Nate Sassman and Doug Black and Jim Gentili on defense, and earned the Commander-in-Chief trophy in fashion in a really great, excellent performance in which they rolled up almost 400 yards of rushing. It was a great game.
400 yards of rushing against Navy. Okay, that would be a good total for this year. Let's see. There's so many storylines on this. I'll be up there on Friday. They're going to have the Patriot Games. They're starting in Concord, Massachusetts with the tug of war. Then they're going to move to the Boston Common with another competition. They're going to march through the streets of Boston to Faneuil Hall, where they will have a pep rally and more activities, and the famed debate match between West Point and the Naval Academy. They'll have the debate match. Lots of things going on also down in Providence. The folks there are going to be welcoming, from what I understand, 700 midshipmen are going to stay in the convention center. They set up temporary barracks, and they're going to have an evening of entertainment in the what we used to call the Dunk, and now it's the Amica Mutual Pavilion, the sports arena in Providence. So lots of things happening there. Steve Chalout, why don't we start? You had mentioned to me significance that this is the last game for the Army seniors. They're not going to get a bowl game, but they are having a chance to play for the Commander-in-Chief trophy. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this week is it's kind of a bittersweet week for an Army football senior firstie. Because that fine young gentleman knows it's his last football game, and he's been playing, probably since Pop Warner when he was 6 or 7 years old, all the way up through, and excelled, and played great in high school. Maybe went to the prep school, and then made the varsity team, and now starting or playing. And there was a saying in our locker room. Those who stay will be champions, and these seniors, these champions, are going to play, and each one of the downs is going to mean a significant amount. And when you're playing Navy, you're almost looking in the mirror at the person across from you, because you're playing against somebody who's got a similar background and going to go off and do similar things as you are, and they're playing in their last game. And there's a little bit of a melancholy after, feeling after the game that, we'll be excited because we won and victory, but we're hugging the guys for the last time. And one of the last times you're going to get the feeling that you have in the locker room that you had, playing with your band of brothers. And it's tough. It's tough, and you don't realize it in the moment, but every year, every day after that, you yearn and long for the days that you were with your brothers in the locker room, and that camaraderie and the things that you did at that point. So my recommendation to them is to savor every moment, tell their players that they love them and that they're going to play hard for them, and leave nothing out on the field and come out victorious. So you have that memory every time you get together from here on out that you beat maybe in your senior year, because it'll be the last time you play football in any uniform.
Absolutely. I have one a quick announcement. Our organization sponsors an award. It's based on two college football players who grew up in the town of Pelham, New York, where Jack and I both originated. And those are two players who were Marines during World War II. They went on to play college football at Morgan State College, where they excelled and won a national championship in 1949. They were in the Army ROTC program there, which was started just after the Truman Doctrine was of 1947. And both Lieutenant Eugene Evans and Lieutenant Colonel Eli Page Howard served in Korea. Sadly, Lieutenant Evans was killed on a night mission in 1952. And Lieutenant Colonel Howard went on to serve in Germany. And in a second tour of Vietnam, his helicopter was shot down in 1969. So we originated this award, the Lieutenant Eugene Evans, Lieutenant Colonel Eli Page Howard Leadership Award. We've been providing it to a number of West Point athletes, also several from Maritime College and Iona University. But this year, we're going to award it to 3 Army football players, and that is going to be Jacoby Buchanan, the big fullback, Tyson Riley, his best friend and fellow big fullback, and then also from defense, we're going to honor Jabari Moore. He's had a terrific career. I think he's going to set the record for most games played by an Army football player. It was about 55 games and counting. And I got to check that. So we're very honored and appreciative that West Point allows us to remember Lieutenant Eugene Evans and Lieutenant Colonel Eli Page Howard. We've met their families, and they appreciate this. And so appreciate West Point allowing us to honor these, remember the legacy of these two extraordinary Americans by honoring 3 of the members of the 2023 team that will start in the game against Navy. The award is also presented by American Legion Post 50 in Pelham and Sons of the American Legion Squadron 135 in White Plains, and the Multi-Ethnic Sports Hall of Fame run by our friend Arif Katif, we've worked with a number of years, who has honored Lieutenant Evans and Lieutenant Colonel Howard on many occasions. So anyway, I appreciate a chance to do that introduction. We'll present the awards. We usually present the awards just before graduation when the families are at West Point in the trophy room in front of Army's Heisman trophies and national championship trophies. Always great moment. Hopefully we'll have a Commander-in-Chief trophy there too. But that'll be decided on Saturday. Okay, so Let's go around and say, what do you think the deciding factor is going to be in the Army-Navy game this year? Colonel, why don't you lead off? What do you think is going to be the key factor in the game?
First off, I'm going to correct you. No, hopefully, when we earn the Commander-in-Chief Trophy Saturday, you'll be able to take photos in front of the Commander-in-Chief Trophy when it comes home to our Rockbound Highland home where it belongs.
Okay.
The keys to the game this weekend, they're the same keys that exist for every Army-Navy game. And the team that controls the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, dominates time of possession, and does not commit any turnovers or costly mistakes or mental errors is the team that is putting itself in position with the best probability of winning the game. And over the last 3 games of Army's 3-game winning streak, although they have committed a number of penalties, which has been up from where they had been, where they were, top of FBS for fewest penalties per game. What they have been doing is they have been really working hard in dominating the line of scrimmage and really punching the other team in the mouth. They did it to Air Force for 4 quarters. They did it to Holy Cross for the most part. And then against Coastal Carolina, the offensive line was just having a party on that field. That's the kind of dominance that you want to see in the Army-Navy game. But most importantly, of all the ones that I just mentioned, the most important one of all, don't turn the ball over. Do not turn the ball over. Make the other team turn the ball over, but you better have ball security on every offensive down in this game, because the other team is chomping at the bit to capitalize on any mistake that you make. And see Exhibit 1, last year's Army-Navy game in double overtime, who committed the turnover at a critical moment, and it cost them the game. That would be Navy. So those are my keys to the game.
Now, Sam, does that mean, both teams play that strategy, you're going to get a 7-0 game?
No, that's not what I mean. It just means because teams are going to score. And do I think Army is going to shut out Navy? Actually, let me reword that. Do I think Army has the ability to shut out Navy? Sure, they held Air Force to 3 points. I just believe that Army's offense is going to arrive at this game and not deliver the anemic performances that they have provided us over the last 3 Army-Navy games. All right. I really think that they're going to show up. They're going to surprise Navy with some looks, some changes at the line of scrimmage, and their execution is going to be very violent. You already mentioned before we started, the Army brings to the table its largest offensive line I think it's ever fielded, and it's actually it's bigger than Navy's offensive line. And they're working on pretty much all cylinders right now. They're playing really well. And I believe that they are, I mentioned this last week, I just think that there is enough firstie or senior leadership, for those who are not familiar with the term firstie at this point, who remember the turd that was laid on the MetLife Stadium two seasons ago, when Army rolled into town with 8 victories under their belt, playing a losing Navy team, and they got punked. And they got denied an outright Commander-in-Chief trophy. These seniors are coming into this game. They remember that, and they know in after action what worked and what didn't work. And I just do not see them showing up and delivering as flat a performance on offense as what happened 2 seasons ago. I think they're really going to come out really fired up and on a mission.
Okay, let's get back to that. Let's hear from Steve Chalout. What do you think the keys are for the game?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious ones that Sam talked about with turnovers and those type of things. But the one that I've been talking and alluding to for quite a while now is we have to start fast and finish strong. And if you go back and look at, the past few games, we come out and we usually have a really good first series, or we'll come out and we'll had a really big play, and then we go dormant for a little bit, and we just got to keep the foot on the gas like we did in Colorado, in Denver this year, and just keep pressing the fight, and don't allow, don't take your foot off their throat. And if we can do that, I think we'll dominate the game. I think we've got size on them. Athletically, I think we're a little bit better. We're a little bit more. I won't say a little bit. I think we're a lot more stable at the quarterback position, and we've got options in terms of, and no pun intended with the word options, but we've got options to run different offenses and to keep them on their heels. So, but we got to finish strong. And that has been, we get tight at halftime. We don't score a lot of points in the second half. We need to turn that trend around, and run through the tape and really finish the season off with a decisive blow and a Commander-in-Chief trophy.
Okay. Jack McGurk, what's your thought on the game?
It should be a fun game. It could be a close one. You don't know, but the key with Army, though, is a big question is with the offense. Are they going to go with more traditional triple option, ground and pound offense, running the ball down Navy's throat, or are they going to go to the air with a few passes? Usually in games, if you look at games where they don't get a pass under Coach Monken, they're 9-1, so they're standing in those games. So they may go that route. Also, turnovers, as Sam was saying, and also blocking punts. The Army's actually going into this game having had blocked punts in the last 2 consecutive games. So hopefully they'll keep that going. And Navy, on the other hand, they just got blown out by SMU 59-14. So they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. But it should be a fun game. I would say don't count Navy out. I keep thinking, what if this is going to be like a game that we saw at the Meadowland Army Navy game, where we went in thinking that Army's going to win this game no problem, and we were unfortunately surprised. But I think definitely Army should be favored in this one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Richard, what's your thought on the game?
My thought on the game is this is a game where Army has got to crush. They've got to crush Navy into little midshipmen, and they've got to, I think they've got to throw the football, throw it early, get out to a lead, keep pushing, pedal to the metal, keep and finish strong. This is really their season right here.
Okay.
Season, strong.
Okay. You got it. Okay. Yeah, I think the keys on this, I think Army's going to pound the ball, and we'll see. We talked to Drew Thatcher today. He kind of said, they can do either offense, and it's pretty seamless transition from one to the other. Just what Coach Monken said after the Coastal game was so tough to do, to go from under center to shotgun or back to under center. But they're getting phenomenal play out of Bryson Daly, handled it flawlessly. And the center, Brady Small, despite an injured hand, hopefully the 3 weeks off has helped him get back to 100%. What a freshman year he's had. If Army pounds the ball, they got a big offensive line compared to Navy. They have about a 20-pound advantage per player. They can do some long drives, but they got to finish those drives. And as we've all said, they've got to manage the ball and avoid turnovers. And that pitch play to Tyrell Robinson, we all have our hearts in our lungs when they run it. But we'll see. Defense, Nate Woody's going to have them ready. I think Navy's ground game is a little weak this year. They don't have a big-time runner. They're going to depend on Xavier Arline. We met at the media day. Nice kid from Long Island. He's not a kid. He's going to become a U.S. Marine officer. And he's given Army fits over the years, including that overtime touchdown pass he threw last year. So I think that is going to be a key element. Our line's got 29 games he's played. He's run for 1,013 yards, scored 7 touchdowns. Coach Munkin said today that he kind of expects that Navy may try 3 quarterbacks. They might put Ty Lavatine in, who played so well in the win in 2021, and Brandon Woodson, the freshman. So I guess the quarterback situation for Navy is a little intangible, but Xavier Arline, we understand, is going to get the start. He started the last 4 games and played well, except for the SMU game, I guess you could say. Sam, what's your thought on the quarterback situation for Navy?
It's going to be interesting to see, who actually remains under center for Navy. All of their quarterbacks, with the exception of their Woodson, I think is his last name, have been at various times of the season have been injured and have had to go out. Arline had to go out of the SMU game with injury, and he stayed out of the game. Labatai has been injured and out for several games. Should they all come back and should they all be healthy? On the one side, it gives Navy the option of putting in a quarterback. If one quarterback's not working out, they've got a stable of quarterbacks they can go back to and pull somebody in. But the reason their run game has been a little more anemic this year is because of their quarterback play. And as Navy has, they have a new offensive coordinator as well. And they've continued to stick to more of the triple option routes, although they've mixed it up a little more and run some type of play calling that's a little similar to what Drew Thatcher had been running prior to the Coastal Carolina game. But the quarterback play has been sporadic by Navy. And this has resulted in Navy's offense doing something that they are not traditionally known for, especially during the Nimatalolo and Paul Johnson years. And that is they've turned the ball over a lot. And they've had, 2 or 3 key costly turnovers every game this season, it seems like, especially the ones that they've lost. And I'm not saying that Army has not turned the ball over, but I agree with Steve Chalout. And then that I think when it comes to the quarterback position, Army is the team coming into this game that has the best stability at quarterback. And they have the single belly button that they're pushing. His name is Bryson Daly. And at this point of the season, Bryson Daly has emerged as the true leader of the Army offense, as a quarterback should. He instills confidence when he's either under center or in the shotgun. And he can be expected to run any hybrid of the offense that Army chooses to unveil against Navy. So really, it's just going to come down to the execution and the ball handling to determine which quarterback is most effective. And I really believe where Navy's concerned, though, Arline is a starter. He's probably the best quarterback that they have, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the best quarterback on the field.
Okay. One of the interesting things, I think, is what Army's going to do at their running back positions. They said Isaiah Alston is going to be out. He's not expected to be able to play, but they believe Hayden Reed will be back, ready to go. And then you've got Miles Stewart and Markel Johnson, who's had some spark, and then Kanye Udo, the freshman, mature above his age. As we talked to him a little bit tonight, boy, is he a sharp guy for a freshman out of New Jersey. And we'll see. Be interested to see what mix Drew Thatcher works. And the other element to it is that Coach Munkin said that Drew Thatcher would be calling the plays as offensive coordinator, although Coach Munkin said he always reserves the right to call a play himself, but he said he does that very infrequently. What do you think about the play calling? Last game, the quarterback coach, Cody Worley, was given most of the play calling duty to run the triple option plays. What do you think?
Well, last week in the huddle, we talked about this briefly, so I'll keep it quick. I really think that Cody Worley was assigned the play calling duties simply because Cody Worley represented continuity as an offensive coach back to the triple option. And Drew Thatcher was new to the staff this year as the offensive coordinator, bringing in an entirely new offensive system. And to go back under center and go into a triple option play calling game plan, it just made sense to have someone who had that continuity and better understanding of the triple option playbook to be the person who was making the play calls.
Okay. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I know both of the coaches, and the good thing about these two coaches is that ego is not in play, right? So that's where when you have two offensive coordinators or two people who are calling plays or trying to, sometimes egos get in the way. They're both very team oriented and their heads in the right place. They've had 3 weeks to work out anything that they need to work out. They signal most of their plays in from the sideline anyway. So I think they'll have a system and how they're going to do that if they decide to go between into some sort of hybrid offense. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what happens with it. I think we'll dip our toe in the water on either side, and we'll see how the team reacts. Not unlike what we did against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina could never, and the further we've gotten away from Coastal Carolina, the more I've gotten to talk to people. I mean, their intent wasn't to be in that offense the entire time, but as the game went on and the momentum built and the linemen tasted blood and they were firing off the ball and continuing what they did, they couldn't move away from it. And it picked up a life of its own, and it breathed life into that offense and the way they were going. So I think they'll feel whatever way is hot and then mix it up a little bit. But I'm excited to see how we come out and how we do it. And I think our quarterback is mature enough to handle it. He's not flashy. He doesn't try to make the big play over being conservative and doing what he needs to do, and plays within himself. So I think it's perfect. It's a perfect match for what we're going to try to accomplish.
Well, Steve, first play on offense, so they're going to be under center, or they're going to be in the shotgun, do you think?
Exactly.
Exactly. It was an either or question. It wasn't exactly.
I think I would not be surprised if we walked up under center and then backed away into the shotgun, just to kind of give
play
them,
or just after.
What's that?
I guess the question is, Coach Monken said very specifically after the Coastal game that it's hard to do both.
Ken, you're stuck on that. You're stuck on that.
I know, but I heard it from Coach Monken.
You're stuck on it, Ken, because he said it once. And I've told you many times you're a good-looking man, but that doesn't mean you're good-looking. You know what I'm saying? So let's get away from that. And they've had time to work out the kinks. That they're the brightest college football players in the country. They've got one of the best coaching staffs in the country. They figured it out. They have figured it out. Now, what he tells the press is something different. I mean, there's a lot of gamemanship that goes on with it. They will have it figured out. They had it figured out against Coastal Carolina with a center that never played center before, with somebody with his hands in their butt. And they did it seamlessly, flawlessly. They will figure it out. And they're going to come out either in under center and back away, or they're going to go back away and come in under center to give them a little bit of a head fake.
Yep.
And what are they going to do? Play two?
Punt.
They're going to punt. Okay.
No,
I think they're going to go under center, and they're going to.
The second play is going to be an extra point.
Okay, I think they're going to go under center, and they're going to pound Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson Riley until Navy can stop them, and they may not stop them.
You've got a 275-pound-ish runner with full treads on his tires, going to play his last collegiate game. He's ready to go. And he's going to get the ball.
Well, I agree with you. I think they're going to pound the fullback until Navy shows they can stop them. And and then, maybe they'll run an option play on 2nd and 3. We'll see. Okay, Sam, what do you think on that one?
Yeah. Ditto what Steve said. So remember that Brian Newberry, before he became the head coach, he was a defensive coordinator for Navy, and one of the things that he brought to the table was changing the culture of Navy's defense into an attack type defense. And something that they're known to do is to come to the line of scrimmage and then shift. So they don't show their alignment until shortly before the ball snap, and then they shift into what actual defense they're going to play. I really think for this season, Army has the ability on offense to force Navy to commit on defense and then shift on offense and catch them off guard. And that is by transitioning from one offense to the other. And remember that all the same players are on the field. And to dogpile what Steve was saying to you about what Coach Monken said, Coach Monken is all about OPSEC. Coach Monken is going to get up there in front of the press and say anything. So if he says, well, it's really hard to run one offense, it's really hard to run both offenses from the same huddle. And no, it isn't, because it's all the same playbook. And these kids know the plays. So it's really just a matter of teaching them and practice how to read a defense and audible into a different formation, into a different play, which may either be another triple option play or it may be a play from the Thatcher shotgun. So I believe we're really going to see a lot of this shifting going on this week. But I am going to add this about Army's offensive game plan and Navy's defense. Although Navy on offense has been kind of suspect at times, not to say that Army's offense hasn't been suspect at times as well. We've already had these discussions. But Navy's defense has been very opportunistic the entire season. They have had some really bad lapse games like SMU, but they force a lot of turnovers, and they are looking for opportunities where the ball is being put at risk. And that being said, no matter what offense Army runs this Saturday, whether it be under center or from the shotgun, I'm saying that probably 90 to 95% of these plays, regardless of the offensive formation, are going to be run plays, because it presents
90%. Is that what you said?
90 to 95%.
That's a lot of passing for Army some games. 10%.
You're not going to see, well, in the Thatcher offense, that's not a lot.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to be conservative, but they're going to take their shots.
Yeah, they may take their shots, like that 2nd and 3rd play that you were just talking about. Buchanan or Riley up the middle for 7 yards, and you have 2nd and 3. So you go deep on a play option fake. But I really do believe that passes are going to be set up by the run. Passes are going to be set up by the yardage involved with the play and the situation involved with the play. But the primary focus of Army's offense on Saturday is going to be to pound the ball, run the ball, and attack the perimeters, which they can do from either formation.
Okay. Jack, what do you think Army's going to do there?
I think it's going to be a ground and pound game, classic Army ball. As you said, hand off the ball to Jacoby Buchanan, have him bulldoze his way to the Navy defensive line, and it should be a fun one. I was also looking at the weather for the Saturday to see if that could play a role in this game. And in Foxborough on Saturday, it's going to be cloudy with a high of 53, so it's probably not going to have much of an effect on the game.
It's pretty mild.
Yeah,
it was cold today. I was up there for the media day last Wednesday. I think it was barely out of the 30s. So we'll see. Richard, we tasked you with taking a look at the bowl games, and maybe you want to take us through a few of them.
Sure, I do. I've got the 2023-2024 bowl season schedule. Excuse me.
What's up in the first week?
Let's see. College football bowl schedule is let's see. Oh come on, come on. Sometimes it's this iPad that. Okay, now it's up. Let's see.
All right.
Now I think it is up. And in the first week of the upcoming college football bowl games, let's see. No, wait. That's 2023. Okay, 2023-2024 bowl
Okay,
season.
Richard, maybe we'll come back.
Okay,
I can
Georgia
get
Southern
one of
will
them.
be taking on Ohio on December 16th. How Howard is taking on Florida A&M also on December 16th. The first one is the Metal Beach Bowl. The second one is the Cricket Celebration Bowl. Following is the RL Carries New Orleans Bowl, Jacksonville State and Louisiana. Next up on December 16th will be the Advocates from Mexico Cure Bowl, Miami of Ohio taking on Appalachia State, and the Azatel New Mexico Bowl, New Mexico State and Fresno State, and the Stalco Brands LA Bowl hosted by Gronk, UCLA taking on Boise State 7:30. Also on that day, it'll be Cal and Texas taking on the in the Independence Bowl on December 16th. Idaho Potato Chip, famous Toasty Bowl will be December 18th. Western Kentucky taking on Old Dominion, followed by the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, UTSA and Marshall 9 p.m. Thursday it'll be the Boca Raton Bowl, USF against Syracuse. That's an 8 p.m. start. The Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl will have Georgia Tech taking on UCF. The Camarilla Bowl will be Arkansas State and Northwestern, December 23rd. The 76 Birmingham Bowl will be Troy against Duke. Also that day, the Armed Forces Bowl, the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, James Madison taking on Air Force. The Idaho Potato Bowl, famous, Georgia State and Utah State at 3:30. That night will be the 68 Ventures Bowl, South Alabama against Eastern Michigan, and the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Utah against Northwestern at 7:30.
Okay, so that's all of the pre-Christmas bowls.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. We'll come back next week and we'll go through the balance of the bowl schedule.
I've never seen a worse bowl schedule. there isn't even a compelling matchup in any of what he talked about up to that point.
Not a Armed Forces Bowl with Air Force and James Madison.
James Madison will drudge Air Force, and I will watch.
Yeah.
I will watch that, and I'll text Sam Houston through the entire game.
I was thinking about going to that one just to be at the Armed Forces Bowl again. Who's in the military bowl?
That's Tulane.
No, it's Tulane and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and Tulane will drudge Virginia Tech.
Okay, what day is that? I might go to that.
December 27th.
On the 27th. And who's in the Pinstripe Bowl?
Pinstripe Bowl was Rutgers and the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, Miami was there a few years ago. They didn't really look like they wanted to play.
Kind of like Houston in the Armed Forces Bowl a few years ago against Army.
Yeah, not quite as bad as Houston. That's the worst bowl performance I've ever seen of a team.
And what struck me when I looked at this is the Fenway Bowl up in Boston, and they got Boston College in there. You want to go to a bowl game and you want to travel. You want to go somewhere warm. And Boston College is playing in Boston at Fenway.
Yay!
They must have had trouble getting a team to want to play. Yeah, that is odd. It's they barely can fit the field in at Fenway Park. Don't they have to put the goalposts in the stands?
Yeah, they got to put it up on a wall.
It's probably not the best place for a bowl game, but I guess the folks who own the Red Sox want to have the game and pay whatever it costs.
The one that really struck me that's coming up is you thought Notre Dame was a much more prominent program this year early on, and they're playing in the Sun Bowl. They're in El Paso in the Sun Bowl. You'd expect they'd be early on there was a lot of hype, and they were going to be in a New Year's Day game, and they're playing on they're playing on December 29th in the Sun Bowl, which is I would think would be disappointing for them.
Wasn't the Sun Bowl? Didn't it used to be a big bowl game? That's sort of a nice place to go. At least it used to be.
Well, when we played in the Sun Bowl, I think there were only a dozen bowls total. It was one of the big. I mean, they had a big CBS crew that used to, like, Pat Hayden was the announcer on that, and when we played in it, we played Alabama. The bowls were tough to get into, and I think there were only 12 or 13 bowls at that time, and it was pretty prominent.
Did Florida State get robbed?
Yes.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, I believe that they made absolutely the right call on this. I mean, if you even just follow Vegas. Vegas set up initial lines that if Florida State, there are a couple theories that I have, and I will ask Boo Corrigan on Saturday when he comes to my tailgate, because he's coming in to watch the game, and I wanted to, because he's the chair of this. I want to get the inside baseball scoop on this, but there are a couple things that happened on this. If you look at the Vegas lines for Florida State, they would have been 2 to 3 touchdown dogs against anybody that they were going to play in the BCS, versus the matchups they have now, which are under 5 points. So I think that just shows you it's just better matchups and better teams playing. The second thing is, call me a conspiracy theorist, I think that they really wanted to stick it to Michigan and putting Michigan up against Alabama. Because that middle draw of Texas versus Washington is a much better draw. Not draw for drawing people, but it's a much easier football game than having to play Alabama in that. So nobody wants to play the Crimson Tide this time of year. And that just goes to show you, if Florida State was playing against Michigan, that place would have erupted. As soon as they called it Alabama, they were like, oh, no.
Yeah. And my take on it is can a legitimate argument be made from the Florida State crowd that they got robbed? Absolutely. And they're already making it. And on paper, they're 13-0. They won the ACC, a Power 5 conference. They were ranked number 1 at one time this year. But they had a starting quarterback went out about 3 weeks ago, and they're down to a freshman quarterback right now. And quite frankly, there cannot be an argument made that Florida State, if they were to be matched up against Alabama right now, for example, that Florida State would have a chance to win. I just don't believe that at all. I don't believe Florida State have a chance to beat Michigan or Texas. Maybe they might give Washington some fits, but the bottom line is that Florida State is just not the team that is. If we're going to make the argument for a 13-0 team to go to the BCS, then how about Liberty? Liberty's 13-0. But the biggest loser from Conference Champions Weekend by far was not Florida State. It was Georgia. Georgia rolls into town with their long winning streak, and they play poorly against Alabama. They lose. And guess what? They're not only did they lose and go from number 1 to whatever, they went completely out of the BCS. So 3 points made the difference between Georgia being the number 1 seed in the BCS again, and even playing in the BCS.
And go to the Orange Bowl.
So you could have an argument from the Georgia fans, very similar to the argument Florida State fans are making. Georgia fans could be making the same argument that, hey, we got robbed as well. So it is what it is. I think the best 4 teams are in it. Yeah.
And to that point, even Ohio State losing 3 points to Michigan, and now they're ranked number 7th. They're playing Missouri in the Cotton Bowl versus being even on a New Year's Day bowl. And I understand the Florida State narrative. You start the year off ranked number 4, you win 13 straight, and you end up ranked number 5. It just doesn't. It doesn't, when you say it like that, it doesn't make sense, but you got to look at these other, you played, if Florida State played any of those 3 other teams, 100 times, they're going to lose 90, 95 of them, but not 100. It's just the way it is.
Mhm.
Well,
So,
Steve, how much is it going to change next year when you've got these added teams in the Big Ten? You've got USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. And then you look at the Southeast Conference, and you're going to have Oklahoma and Texas joining in. Somebody's got to lose all these games.
yeah, well, what's going to end up happening? I mean, you got 12 teams next year, so it's going to be, we're going to be talking about who got left out, number 13, number 14. It's just a different conversation. And each year, it'll be more subjective then than it is now. You have the thing is, we got a Power Five. We have a Power Five conferences. That's 5 conferences. So, by definition, one of those conferences probably is not going to have somebody in it. And, and they have 4 conference champions. And you even look at Washington, and Sam said something about Washington. But Washington came out and thumped Oregon, which they said couldn't happen. I mean, Washington is a good ball club. So it's there'll be some adjustments next year, but it opens it up. It opens it up to an American Conference next year being in the tournament, right? Somebody coming out of there. Army puts together a 11-win season. They could be in the hunt for the national championship. No, we don't laugh about it. It is, we could be in the hunt for something like that as one of the teams.
Well, you're going to have teams like Army, could be Air Force, could be Navy, looking for that last to get in and get into the playoff. The question is how they do. The question is, do you want to be that 12th team in the playoff, or do you want to play the Armed Forces Bowl where you have a better chance of coming home with a trophy?
I'll take the millions.
We want the money. Okay, so there'll be a lot more money if you get in a playoff game. Okay, that's it.
Well, there's two things: money and recognition, right? For recruiting. I mean, it would help to be named in that top 12 to do that recruiting wise, and it's not that far off of a stretch. I mean, if you look at Air Force coming 8 in a row, coming up against us, if they'd ripped through the rest of their schedule and it was next year, they could have been definitely considered in that top 12 space. I mean, they'd be close to undefeated or undefeated, and a conference winner. It would be hard to keep them out. So there's a chance that it could happen for an academy, and what that would do for recruiting is crazy.
Well, it certainly helps. How is it going to work? The first round will be the week after the Army-Navy game, and that'll be played at campus sites.
Yeah, there's a bye weekend for I think 4 teams, and then the other teams will play and go from there.
Okay. Some of those stadiums are not quite ready for winter weather college football. We'll see. Okay, we got Jack back. Well, let's go into our lightning round of predictions of what the score is going to be. Army versus Navy in 2023. And okay, let's start with Jack. What was your thought on the score?
I think it could be maybe a close one, but I think ultimately Army is going to come out on top. I'm going to go 24-17 Army.
Okay, that's a good one. And Richard, what's your thought?
My thought is, it's the Army-Navy game. It's time for Army to crush Navy in the small midshipmen. I'm gonna go Army 35-7 Army in this one.
No, 35-7 is going to cost Navy's coach's job after 1 year, giving up 35 points. Okay, Richard. Okay, let's let Sam Houston go next.
Hey, I want to start by saying I hope that Richard resumes his trend from last season of always being right on these predictions, because that would be beautiful, man. You talk about me having a celebration up in club level in the fourth quarter with some adult beverages, man. There'll be no bullets coming out of my pores if that's the deal. I would love for that. Now, let me get into my reality of what I think the game is going to be. I just can't historically look back at Army Navy games in the Monken years, and I can't pick one game where, Army really had the game in hand, and except for the 2020 game when they scored that late touchdown and went up 15-0, and then the partying started. But guess what? It was a COVID year, so unless you were named Steve Chalout, you weren't even at the game. So but every other game, with the exception of the Malcolm Perry asterisk year, it's been like a one-score game every year, and it always comes down to the very end. I don't want this year to be like that, and I really believe that Army is bringing a better team, the more physical team, to the table, the better coach team, and the hungrier team, because this is the second time in 3 years Army has had the opportunity to win the Commander-in-Chief trophy outright and make Coach Monken the first Army coach to earn 4 Commander-in-Chief trophies outright. That being said, I believe that the game is going to be close for the most part, but in the fourth quarter, Army's going to get an opportunity that they're going to seize, either from a flipped field position or a turnover, and they're going to score another touchdown to go up by 2, and they're going to hold to 2 touchdowns, and they're going to hold that lead. So my prediction for the game is 28-14 Army.
28-14. Okay, for Sam Houston, the Colonel. Okay, Steve Chalout, you've got the floor next.
Yeah, I think offensively, we will find our stride. Defensively, we'll hold the line. 25-14 Army.
Okay. So everybody's got Army scoring 24 points or more, and a low of 7 for Navy from Richard, a high for Navy. We got of 17 from Jack. I think Army has a chance to win the game comfortably, but I think you got a good matchup at quarterbacks. Xavier Arline for Navy could be an Army killer. He's done it before. He can run the ball, throw the ball, and if Army lets him do so, he can put some points on the board. You've got Bryson Daly, probably in his finest form of the year. Running an offense he's probably more comfortable doing under center. And you got those 2 big fullbacks, Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson Riley. And if I'm calling the plays, I'm just alternating them every play until they're in the end zone, 8 or 9 plays later, and wait to see if Navy can stop them. If they do, throw the ball over their heads and go deep and make a long touchdown. Defense, Army's got to, be aggressive, and Leo Lowen, Caleb Fortner, we talked to last week, is a very aggressive linebacker for Army. And then if it comes down to it, Army's got the better place kicker in Quinn Moretsky, who is probably their best place kicker for accuracy and distance that they've had in quite a while. So Quinn can win the close game, as he proved last year with 2 field goals to tie it and then to win the game. Having said all that, I think it'll be 20. I'll go for the 27-14. It would be for me. I think we'll just wrap up with some thoughts on the best aspects of the Army-Navy game. One of the, I still go back to my favorite story. When we were at the Pentagon for a pep rally after Army's team was introduced at the White House and received the Commander-in-Chief trophy in 2018. And General Milley addressed the team in front of him and did all the rah-rah stuff. And then General Milley says, guys, in a year or so, you're all going to be deployed all over the world, serving in the Army. And sometime you're going to be in a tight spot, and you're going to be damn glad those Air Force and Navy pilots are flying overhead. So it's all about serving together at the end of the Army Navy game. And as we can see, there's lots of threats out there in the world. So they're all going to need each other and serve, honorably in the U.S. military, which is one of the really amazing things about the players who were in this game. Sam, any final thought on the Army Navy game? I know you're going to be up there at the club level enjoying watching.
Yeah, of course. Army Navy is a American icon. I think that it is one of the greatest sporting events in all of American sports, and it should be on everyone's bucket list, no matter who you're rooting for. You should plan to be at the Army Navy game at least once in your life and come to see perhaps the most patriotic spectacle. And I don't want to word it in a way that makes it sound like it's about flag waving. It's about honoring the men and women of the armed forces, respective academies of the Army and the Navy, bringing some of the finest young men to don football uniforms in the entire country. And they're putting everything on the line for 4 quarters. And for many of them, it is their final football game before they exchange their football uniform for either an Army uniform, a Navy uniform, or a Marine Corps uniform. And they go out and they serve our nation in some of the most austere and difficult situations as leaders, not just as members of the ranks, but of people who are tasked with the responsibility of leading men and women in these austere situations.
Sure.
And you will see that it is, a lot of people deadpan Army Navy because it's ground and pound, it's low scoring, it's this and that. I would say people who say that have never been to an Army Navy game. You come to an Army Navy game, you'll be hooked. It literally is a great event that everyone should be a part of. And I wanted to add that on Saturday, the tailgate I'm going to is the Johnny Mac Fun tailgate. It was originally the Class of '86 tailgate, but it morphed into the Johnny Mac Fun. And just so you know, John McHugh was he was a member of the Class of '86. He was in my cadet company. And when he was a colonel, he was involved with a transition of authority from one brigade command to another in Iraq. And he and the other brigade commander were in the same vehicle. It was hit by an IED. They were both killed.
Oh, gosh.
The Class of '86 began a fund to support Johnny Mac's family, and it morphed into the Johnny Mac Fund for Gold Star Families. And they have a very large tailgate where all the proceeds actually go to the Johnny Mac Fund. And you don't have to be at the tailgate to be a part of the Johnny Mac Fund. Look it up online. I would highly encourage you to. It is an incredible cause. And it is for an incredible man that I knew. And his legacy is being honored in spades every day by his classmates. And it's a great thing to be a part of.
Okay, well, we will make every effort to get over to that tailgate before the march on, Sam, and we'll see you there. And Jack, you got to the Army Navy game at the Meadowlands in 2021. You were out there on the field with me as we videoed the march-ons and some of the national anthem, some of the other pregame activity. What was your thought about that experience?
Yeah, all the pomp and parade of the event is impressive. You had the march on, as you said, with the Corps cadets and the midshipmen marching on in formation. And then there was the flyover. You have an Army flyover of helicopters, and then the Navy flyover, which I think it was the Blue Angels flyover. And you also get to meet, there's a lot of pretty famous people there, dignitary stuff. I remember we were walking around the stadium, just outside the stadium, and we ended up running into the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro.
Yeah, I just ran into him. I had met him. We got a quick quote from him. Good man.
And while we were on the field in the stadium, we ran into Army football legend Gary Steele.
Yeah.
Spoke for a bit. And also our friend Herman Bowles was there. And it was great. I don't think they didn't have it when we were there, but maybe this year they'll have someone parachute in to the stadium with the game ball. Are they doing that this year?
Depends on the weather, but yeah, they'll have parachute drops. So Wayne Peacock of USAA, the chairman of that company. I know, Richard, we haven't gotten you to an Army Navy game. What have you seen? What do you hear them about at the game that impresses you?
What really impresses me about it is just the pageantry. It isn't about like it's just about the Army and the Navy and this one game, because then after that everyone will be off on their missions, as I think everyone's talked about. Just the feel of really one of the best rivalries in all of sports. The atmosphere. It's gonna be a great game.
Okay.
I enjoy watching
And
it
let's
every year.
last Steve Chalout. You got a big tailgate beforehand. What's your thought on why the Army Navy game is special?
Well, the Army Navy game is special because it's pure. It's football for the love of the game. The players are going to play in their last football game. They do it for each other. They fight in the foxhole next to them, and it is a complete in just pure brotherhood experience, and it's just the best feeling. And after that first kick, it's really weird because when you're playing in the game, all that, I played in the vet and 80,000 screaming fans, and it all goes silent in your mind, and it's just you and your brothers from the left and the right of you, and fighting for 60 minutes, and it's an incredible experience. It's nothing more pure than that. And then there's one last thing I want everybody to see. I think it's pretty important. That here's a geometry lesson for you. So
What?
can I get a beat Navy?
Beat Navy.
Beat Navy.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have you know that today I was in a top secret video teleconference.
Don't tell Sam. Don't tell us anything top secret.
Oh, I won't. I
We don't
won't.
want to
But
get
I was just a
security people.
So I was just a participant in this. But there were a number of very high level, let's say, military and civilian personnel from around the globe who were on this call, and they did a last round robin about anyone have any alibis, and they go around the room. No one said anything, and I'm like, this is shocking to me. Come on, this is Army Navy week. So they said, okay, we want to thank everyone for joining, blah blah blah, everyone have a great day. And that's when I unmuted mine and I went, go Army, beat Navy, and then I muted it again.
You got it in. Okay.
Everybody reacted to that. It was awesome.
Well, it is a special day. I've been to 2 Super Bowls, been very fortunate, and they do not come close to an Army Navy game because of all the pageantry, all the activity, all the traditions. The March On of Cadets and the March On of the Brigade of Midshipmen. It's one of the most special. It's probably the most special moment in college football each year. And the exchange of cadets, of the prisoner exchange, the welcome to the field with fighter planes and helicopters, as Jack was describing. Last year, I was standing on the 35-yard line doing video before the game, and you look down at the 50-yard line, and there's the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, and the Secretary of the Army, Woolruth, Christine Wormuth, and General McGonville. And it's such an amazing moment. And then it all comes down to the end. Who gets the opportunity to sing second triumphantly? So it's really become a great rivalry. We got past the streak, and it's really a very highly competitive game. It's going to be fun. Okay, well, let's break. I want to again thank our sponsor, the New York Yankees. They got a lot of different plans for next year. And they also have the Pinstripe Bowl coming up with Rutgers playing Miami Christmas week. And also, we always remember our friends at the Special Operations Warrior Foundation do a terrific job taking care of the families of fallen Special Operations members. We will see you at Foxborough. I'll be up at the Patriot games on Friday, including the debate team match between the two academies, which is always impressive to watch. We'll be at the Army Navy Gala on Friday night. And then bright and early, we will be at Foxborough at Gillette Stadium to cover some of the tailgates. And then we'll be inside for the march on of cadets and of midshipmen, and much to follow. Okay, I want to thank everybody. Richard Miller from Florida. Sam Houston from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama. Jack
Go
McGurk.
Army, beat Navy.
Yep.
Jack McGurk from Pelham, and from South Jersey in the class of 92, Steve Chalout. Thank you all. And we'll see you for the 124th Army Navy game in Foxborough on Saturday. Thanks for watching, everybody.